Every time VW releases a new car, changes are not always dramatic, and we usually go from something that looks like this to something that looks like this. So when the Germans announced that the 6th generation Polo GTI would be totally different, few were expecting to go from something like this to this one, the 6th generation Polo GTI. Bigger and wider, it has a new exterior design, LED headlights, LED taillights, and it comes with 17-inch alloys as standard. On the inside you can fit the excellent active info display to replace the regular dials and the touchscreen infotainment system. For a full walk around of this car and its specs, click the icon in the top right hand corner of the screen to see a separate video on that topic, or by following the link below the like button. So design-wise, I guess it's safe to say that the new Polo is a big step ahead compared to the old car. But what about underneath? Well, I'm happy to report that things look good there as well. Unlike the previous car that had a 1.4 and then later on a 1.8 turbocharged petrol engine under the bonnet, this one shares the same engine with its bigger brother, the Golf GTI. Detuned, of course, but still. It's a 2-liter turbocharged petrol unit capable of producing 200 horsepower and 320 Newton meters of torque. And that can take the car from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 6.7 seconds. And that means this car is pretty much on point with a Mk5 Golf GTI. There's progress for you. But what I want to find out today is how this car compares to the new Fiesta ST I've tested a few months back. More importantly, I'd like to see how this Polo GTI justifies its price tag. Is it more thrilling to drive than the Ford? Maybe the build quality is superior, or simply put, it's just a better car all around. Or is it just because of the badge? Unfortunately, unlike its rival, the Ford Fiesta ST, which I drove a couple of weeks ago, and I'll link that video below the like button, the Polo GTI doesn't benefit from a mechanical limited slip differential. Instead, it has a system called XDS, electronic differential lock, also known as torque vectoring through braking. It's built into the ESP system of the car, and it tries to mimic the way a mechanical limited slip differential works by braking the inside wheel of the car while turning and sending more power to the outside wheel. It does work actually, and it's better than not having anything to distribute the power between the front wheels, but it's no match for a mechanical LSD. Meaning that you can't actually floor the throttle mid-corner and expect the car to be dragged towards the inside of that bend. That just doesn't happen with this system. It's more like a tool that reduces understeer rather than making the car more exciting to drive. That being said, this car is huge fun around these fast bends that we're driving on today. I even managed to make it lift off oversteer, but just a tiny bit, to be honest. Unfortunately, in slower corners, the system isn't as effective and the car just washes wide. But overall, the new Polo GTI is hugely more fun to drive than its predecessor. The car has 3 main driving modes: Eco, Normal and Sport, obviously. And switching between them changes the throttle response, the steering weight and the suspension settings. There's also a 4th mode called Individual that allows you to set each of the things I've mentioned previously independently from each other. The suspension is excellent, it maintains its refinement in all driving modes, but in sport mode it stiffens up a bit to make the car a bit sharper to the bends. There is a slight hint of body roll, but that only adds to the excitement of driving this car fast. Steering is very 2019, so to speak. You don't get a lot of feedback from the front wheels, and most of the time I feel that it's too light. The engine is pretty familiar and it packs quite a lot of punch, especially when put into a smaller body like this one. throttle response is excellent, and if my ears aren't playing tricks with me, I'd say that the sound actor in this car is much louder than the one in the Golf GTI. But so is the exhaust. Have a listen. If I had to pick one highlight of the new Polo GTI, well, that's the engine. It's the perfect blend between aggression and refinement, and coupled with its 6-speed DSG transmission, that becomes even more apparent. Smooth and silky changes in comfort mode and really fast shifts in sport mode. And as much as I love manuals, it always seems to me that GTIs were primarily designed to work with these DSG boxes. Before I tell you my final thoughts on this car, I have to point out a few things that I don't really like about the new Polo GTI. And I have to start with the materials on the door panels. There's not a single quality material on them, unfortunately, exactly as was the case in the Ford Fiesta ST, but this car is much more expensive, and that makes it even more disappointing. And then there's the DSG transmission, which is great, by the way, but in manual mode, it just doesn't let you do whatever you want with the pedals. The red line in this car starts at about 6,500 RPM, but even in manual mode, the DSG transmission will upshift at 6,000 RPM. And this is such a weird behavior, especially in a GTI product. So what's my take on the new Polo GTI? Well, it's a really fun car to drive with a great engine and with an almost flawless transmission. But the question is, how does this stack up to the new Ford Fiesta ST that I reviewed a few weeks ago? They're similar in size, they're equally practical, surprisingly similar when it comes to interior quality, but even without considering the price difference, I'd take the Fiesta ST. It's a much more exciting car to drive fast, it's got more character, and the manual transmission just makes it more involving to drive. Plus, it's around 10% cheaper. That being said, the Polo GTI has never been closer in terms of driving fun to the Fiesta ST. And given the fact that VW have a tendency to add trim levels to their base models nowadays, I'm hoping for a performance model that'll put this car in line with the Fiesta ST. So this has been my full review of the new Volkswagen Polo GTI, my friends. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for lots more content to come. And until next time, take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you around.